Hello and welcome to my Field Engineer guide. The Field Engineer is a subclass of the Footman and focuses on placing structures. When played right, you can buy your team valuable time and sometimes even turn a game around, especially when you work together with other Field Engineers. In this video I want to present you the 10 most important tips to help you succeed when playing this subclass. Let's start with tip number 1. Many of you probably know this already, but I definitely wanted to put this tip into the video because it is so important to know and every beginner should be aware of this. You can have 4 barricades placed at a time. Although you can only carry around 2 barricades with you, you can place 4 of them overall. So keep in mind to visit an ammo crate and resupply after having placed your 2 initial barricades. Oftentimes it is also a good idea to resupply again after you've placed the maximum amount of 4 barricades, because this will enable you to replace destroyed barricades really fast. Tip number 2. Pick up a secondary weapon after placing your spikes or your bear trap. One of the biggest flaws of the Field Engineer is that he doesn't have a secondary weapon. This makes you extremely vulnerable if you lose your main weapon. Luckily, you are able to pick up a secondary weapon from the ground after you have placed your spikes or your bear trap. This makes surviving way easier, especially if you have problems with your stamina management and tend to drop your main weapon often. But keep in mind that this will only work if you have placed your bear trap or your spikes already. Otherwise, you will just replace your main weapon like shown in this example. Now let's get to the third tip. Pick up damaged structures and place them again to repair them. Although the Field Engineer can't repair structures in place, picking up damaged structures and placing them again will have exactly the same effect. So if you ever notice that one of your structures is damaged, simply pick it up and place it again to replenish its hit points. Tip number 4. Use heavy horizontal swings to hit multiple enemies. Many players have problems using the Field Engineer's weapons because they all stop on hit when using light horizontal slashes or light overhead attacks. This is the case because the sledgehammer and the shovel are blunt weapons and the pickaxe behaves like a blunt weapon, although it is a weapon belonging to the type cut. So in order to be able to hit multiple enemies and perform well in group fights, you should rely on heavy attacks since they do not stop on hit. Keeping this in mind is extremely important and can severely increase your performance on the battlefield. Now let's get to tip number 5. Pick up a better weapon. Overall, the Field Engineer's weapons are below average, so if you really want to maximize your impact, I would definitely recommend picking up a better weapon from the ground. This can be a real game changer, since being able to place structures while also being able to fight really well can help you turn the game around. But I personally really enjoy using the Engineer's weapons. Although they are a little bit harder to use, they can be a lot of fun, especially the shovel. Tip number 6. Use barricades to make choke points tighter. Don't block completely. The biggest mistake most Field Engineers do is that they always block choke points completely. This will force your enemies to attack your structures, which results in your structures breaking extremely fast and having little use. But if you leave a little bit of space open, it will have many benefits for you. The first one is that you will basically funnel your enemies, which makes it easier for you and your team to defend. Another benefit is that your teammates will be able to retreat if they happen to fight in front of your structures. And last but not least, your structures will be around for much longer because your enemies are generally lazy and won't hit your barricades if you leave them a little bit of space. Also keep in mind that the little space you leave open is a perfect spot for bear traps. And also don't forget that spikes are always your weak spot since they break so fast. So don't rely on your spikes when defending. Tip number 7. Think ahead. Place barricades before enemies arrive. Since you can only carry around 2 barricades with you and you need to resupply at an ammo crate in order to be able to place your maximum amount of 4 barricades, which costs a lot of time, it is extremely important to think ahead and place your barricades before your enemies arrive. So if you're about to lose a stage, retreat early enough to place your structures in time. Always think about the next steps of your enemies and play accordingly. Tip number 8. Motivate teammates to play the Engineer as well. As a single engineer, it is really hard to have a big impact on the game. But if multiple Field Engineers work together, it becomes exponentially easier. So if you can, motivate your teammates to also play the engineer. I can't stress enough how much of a difference this can make. I've seen so many games being won because multiple engineers worked together and made it impossible for the enemies to advance. Tip number 9. Use spikes to reach certain spots easier. There are several good spots, especially when attacking, where you can place your spikes in order to help you and your team advance faster. One of the best spots is here in Line Spire. Most of the time you will be able to quickly overrun your enemies if you place your spikes here. And now let's get to the last tip. You deal 100% bonus damage against breakables. Although most people exclusively play the engineer when defending, the offensive capabilities of this subclass are not to be ignored. When playing the field engineer on attack, you can counter your enemy's engineers by easily destroying their structures, and you can also destroy certain objectives extremely fast because of the bonus damage you deal against breakables. So definitely give the engineer a try when attacking. But keep in mind that you will only deal your bonus damage against breakables when you're using your native weapons. So if you have picked up another weapon, the bonus damage will not apply anymore. Alright, that's it for my engineer guide. If the guide was helpful for you, please subscribe and like the video. And as always, see you on the battlefield.